Today on the show, get my 2012 Jeep Wrangler JK ready for the winter season. We're going to do an oil cooler replacement today. Super common on the 3.6 liter Pentastar engines. It always goes out in them. I think the newer designs are a lot better in them, but basically you'll notice that you have little drips of oil underneath the vehicle, kind of right between where the engine and transmission come. You'd almost think it was a rear main seal leak, but that is almost, well, not almost never, but it's very rarely the case. It's always usually the oil cooler assembly. Oil builds up in the valley of the intake, and then it just starts leaking down the intake, down the engine, and then ends up dripping like down the back of the engine, so that when your vehicle is parked, you come back out, you'll notice just like couple little drips or a couple little puddles of oil underneath the vehicle. Kind of annoying. So this is it, oil cooler assembly. Being as winter is pretty much here, we're gearing up. Now the Challenger is pretty much parked for the season. It's a gear up to get the Jeep 100% ready for this winter and 100% ready to go to carry the workload for the winter. So if any of you guys have a 3.6 liter V6 and you're noticing a small, tiny little bit of oil, just like if you leave it there over a week, you'd probably notice maybe like a little bit of an oil mark underneath there, but not enough that you'd actually notice that there's something like catastrophically wrong with it leaking oil. It is probably your oil cooler assembly. So today, although this isn't going to be a how-to video because there are some absolutely amazing how-to videos out there on how to replace the oil cooler assembly, I'm just going to film the process quickly, kind of show sort of what's involved, taking the upper and lower intake off, removing the cooler, putting the new one back on, putting everything back together. Also, this is definitely worth looking into doing yourself if you can, guys, because dealerships will charge you anywhere between $1,100 American and $1,600 American just to replace this, when in the States I think you can get this part for about 200 to 300 bucks American, something like that. Canadian, it was 400 and a bit for me, but of course with our stupid prices, our Canadian dollar being a little lower, everything's a little bit more up here. But definitely worth looking into doing yourself if you can, because it's really not that difficult of an install and it'll save you a ton of money. And with how common this is, it's definitely worth looking into being able to do this. So that being said, let's get at it.
finished off. Now the fun part. So, as we can see, there is a lot of oil built up, and there's a lot of oil that is directly in the valley there that we're gonna have to clean up. We're definitely gonna have to do a fair bit of cleaning in here. It is pretty ugly, ladies and gentlemen. Took a little bit of effort for that one. Alright. That guy's up. Get rid of. There's mine. Back. Now we can see all the oil that's been sitting down inside there. Okay, so that's what happens is the oil builds up. It leaks out of that oil cooler and it builds up between this valley and it sneaks underneath there, and that's where it eventually overflows back there and drips down. So it looks like it's coming from the back of the engine and the transmission, kind of by the rear main seal. Pretty common, also pretty annoying. Gonna have to get all this oil and all this coolant out of here and then get ready to install the new one. Let's see how well this works. And now I can see cleaned up a lot better anyways. That oil is all removed. Put the oil cooler back on. Finally being able to seal, and no more leaking oil out of the back of the engine. Thank God. Okay, there we go. Brand new oil cooler ready to go in. We'll attach our coolant, our oil temperature and pressure sensors back up. Have it sealed with our brand new O-rings that aren't destroyed. And that should fix the leak. And we'll be back up and going in no time.